And we're back with another week of This Week in High School Sports. I'm Teresa Whipple here with Steve Willits, and we're going to start off by thanking our sponsor, Red Onion Burgers, and Steve is wearing the shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks again for that, and we are going to dive right in.
There we go. Couldn't resist, could you?
Have to get the swimming puns out of the way, right?
Interestingly enough, we're going to talk about this during the interview, but we're
Diving
not really going to dive right in. That's the one thing we're not going to do.
Sore subject.
It is indeed.
For that matter.
But yeah, we are going to talk a little swimming because we are getting to that point in the season where the regular season is wrapping up, and we're getting ready for post-swimming season where we go through the regionals and into the state championships. And this past Saturday, the Edmonds School District held their annual Edmonds School District meet, which is all 4 of our schools. And of course, we had to add Mount Vernon into the equation this year too, because they're right down the street, right? But anyhow, all 5 schools meeting up for the Edmonds School District meet. This takes place annually. And pretty much another thing that takes place annually is Edmonds-Woodway holding up the trophy. They won it again this year. It was the 14th time in the last 15 years. The only time they didn't win it was when Meadowdale took the title back in 2015. Some of the key contributors over the weekend, Daniel Eno won 2 individual events and also won 2 relay events. So that was a perfect 4 for 4 for him. Yuteng Wang set an Edmonds School District meet record with the time in the 100 butterfly, and he also won 2 relay victories. And Lukas Mraz swam for 2 different relay teams that won. So we thought we'd bring all 3 of them into the studio to have a little conversation about what took place over the weekend and what we can expect from them moving forward, as well as their teammates. So diving right into it or not, you'll figure out what we're talking about as the interview progresses here. Comes the interview with the Edmonds-Woodway Warrior Swimmers. Over the weekend, the Edmonds-Woodway Warrior swimming team won their 14th Edmonds School District meet championship out of 15 years. It's a heck of a streak right there. 5 in a row, 14 out of 15. And with us right now, 3 of the members of that team, 3 young men who had a very good Saturday at the pool. We've got Yuteng Wang, who is a junior, Daniel Eno, and Lukas Mraz, who are seniors this year. Gentlemen, congratulations on another victory. And I guess the first question, after a while, knowing the school's tradition, knowing the history, Lukas, do you just kind of expect to win this championship when you guys enter into the pool, or do you still have to kind of work for it?
This year, it was more of an expectation and like a requirement to win it than it was like trying to win it. We were mostly going for ESD records and trying to set one. For example, Yuteng got the ESD butterfly record, so that was pretty nice. And then our 200 free relay got the other one, I think, so that was pretty cool.
So going for records, Daniel, you didn't get a record, but you were victorious 4 times yesterday.
Yeah.
Are you okay with not getting a record after being able to step onto the podium a few times?
Yeah, I did my best, but didn't pan out the way I thought it would. Hopefully I'll get another shot at district, so we'll see if I can drop my times below a minute in the 100 breaststroke.
There we go. You can't win more than 4 times. He won all 4, and he still wants to get a little bit better there. And then we've got the a new record holder right here, Yuteng, the 100 butterfly, Edmonds School District record. The school district's been around for a while.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal. Talk a little bit about now being a record holder.
It means a lot because I actually watched the guy set the record last year, and I knew the guy personally who set it. And to know that like I trained with the dude that set the record and that I have a shot at beating it, and I did beat it, was like, it meant a lot to me.
It doesn't sound like, but you beat it by 1.28 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take into consideration your time was 53 seconds. So when you're shaving over a second off of a time that's under a minute, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, so what you did is outstanding, and yet it even gets more magnified when you take into consideration you haven't always been a butterfly swimmer.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
So actually, like, my butterfly popped out of, like, I don't know, my body within, like, the last couple months. And it wasn't a stroke that I was primarily focused on, actually, all of my life. And it was only until, like, I trained it and under my coaches and, like, with their advice and dedication that I was able to, like, get my time to where it is today. And it was actually a really good commitment to pursue.
So being that new to the butterfly, does that mean that you can even increase it that much more? I mean, you still have a year left. You're a junior.
I think I can because I feel really good with the fly, and I'm asking my coaches, and I know I have a lot of stuff to work on and a lot of stuff to improve on.
Might be one of the best lines ever uttered on this show here too. Butterfly just popped right out of your body. I like that. So, talking a little science here on the swimming show. I do want to talk a little bit more about the individual events too in themselves. David, for you, or Daniel, for you, second place in the 200 IM was who? Officially, I know there was a little bit of a scoring change at the end, but
Officially, it was my brother, as far as I'm concerned. But
so your brother Aiden is out there in the pool. Is it
Yeah.
different when you're swimming out there and you've got a little brother in the pool with you? And
it's definitely interesting because he didn't actually used to be like last year. He wasn't that fast, but this year he's right on my toes in a lot of events. So it's interesting going into the pool and having him to push me just by being there. That's kind of interesting.
does it help on the home front too, or when you're sitting at the dinner table? Are you able to kind of talk a little swimming and strategizing with each other? And
We usually talk about it beforehand, and it's an argument about who's going to win. So, yeah.
it seems to be an argument you're winning right now, though.
I win some, I lose some. It kind of goes both ways. So.
Yeah, Lukas, for you, and we're going to get to the relays in a minute because all three of these guys were part of two winning relay teams also. Lukas, you took a second in the 50 freestyle and a third in the 100 breaststroke.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty good about the way the day worked out for you, or?
I was really proud of the 50 freestyle at least because I hadn't swam it for like 2 months, I think, and I really wanted to get back in the water and try that again. I kind of cold turkeyed like a 23.5, which I was totally fine with. I'm hoping to get that under 23 at districts. The breaststroke was mediocre for me at least. I've gone a 103 before in a relay, or 103, but I went a 107 today, so that was unfortunate, but hoping to get that under at least the 105. So
And this guy right here next to you was the one that took first place, so you're trying to catch him then for next week, is that?
yeah, I raced right next to him, and I saw him ahead of me the whole time, so that was cool.
Well, the one thing I did note when I was looking at the times, the fourth place competitor, the one who was right behind you, was 10 seconds back. You were kind of feeling like you're swimming by yourself there for a while? Or?
Yeah, a little bit. On the first 50, I could tell that I was like neck and neck with the rest of the group of Sasha and Daniel. But then on that second turn, my body kind of gave out and I kind of fell behind. So
Is it tougher to achieve a better time knowing that you're not really being pushed by another swimmer?
yeah, like if you're ahead of the entire field and you don't have anyone to race you, it's really hard to go faster. But for example, in the 50 free, I was right next to Anton Tepelhov, and it was really close, so we could push each other and try and go faster. So that was cool.
And we should also mention, too, you pointed out to me before the interview started, not all pools are equal, right? Talk about one of the issues you had with at the Lynnwood pool over the weekend.
So at the Lynnwood pool in the 100 breaststroke, I scraped my feet on the bottom of the pool twice. First on the first turn coming back, so I couldn't do a dolphin kick, which really slowed me down. Because the pool's like 3.5 feet on the shallow end. And then I did it the second time on the third turn, and that kind of just drew me way back. I think I would have gotten at least like a 105 if I had gotten the full depth of like Snohomish or something. But yeah, you can't always have.
And
that.
how tall of a guy are you?
I'm like 6 foot, I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not as though we're talking about a 6'4" swimmer here, and you're still.
Yeah.
It's a little bit challenging then for you. And so not all pools are equal then, right, guys? I mean,
yeah.
Yuteng, you swim quite a bit. I mean, talk a little bit about that. Do you have to make adjustments every time you go to a different pool?
Definitely. A big priority for me is the blocks because my start is what wins me a lot of my races. And if I see that like the blocks are kind of slippery or like they're kind of small for me, then I have to make an adjustment to my start on that day at the pool to compensate for that. Also, like Lukas said, the bottoms, if there's like rocks on the bottom or if it's like really it kind of feels like gravel.
Yeah, like
then,
grainy.
Yeah, grainy. Then it's like I have to make an adjustment to the depth that I push off of on every turn. Because if I don't do that, then I'm gonna hurt myself in the like scraping my feet against the bottom.
And we should point out too, so your regionals coming up in 2 weeks, or your districts at the Snohomish Aquatic Center, and then state championships will be down in Federal Way at one of the nicer facilities in the nation, quite frankly. Daniel, I'm guessing we don't have to worry about depth at the pools for either one of those two places?
No, I think none of us are going to scrape our feet at King County or Snohomish. So.
Yeah, two of the better facilities around, so we look forward to seeing that. And we did mention also each of you winning 2 titles yesterday in relay races, not necessarily all together, although Daniel and Yuteng, I think 2 of you racing together in 2 different races. Is that correct? and then Lukas and Yuteng, you guys were the one. So a combination of the two of you in a couple of those races. Do you take as much pride winning a relay as you do in winning an individual event?
Yeah, in a relay, I get a lot more pumped up to like win and do better for my team and like help them out and try and get that lead. Especially if I'm anchoring or something, or even if I lead off, I want to get that lead and I want to finish strong. So, especially in terms of like an individual race and a relay race, I definitely prefer a relay race. Yeah.
And Daniel, what about you? As far as when you start to look at these relay teams, does one of them maybe have a better chance at achieving a better mark at state than maybe the others in terms of where you might finish on a podium?
Well, given how we finished last year and how we're doing this year, I feel like the 200 medley relay has a lot of potential because we have state qualifiers in individual events that, like I qualified in breaststroke, Yuteng qualified in fly, Jeff Plum qualified in backstroke. So we have state qualifiers in each position of the medley relay, which is really rare for a school team to have. So I think we have a good chance of making a podium this year.
And a couple of names we wanted to make sure get mentioned. You mentioned Anton a minute ago, and then Jeff. Are there any other names we should be mentioning here, Yuteng, as well as not only from the relay teams, but other swimmers who are having solid years at Edmonds-Woodway?
Anthony Edwards. I don't feel like he got enough recognition last night, because he got taken out of his event, even though he won it. And I know he was kind of bitter about that, and I would be too, but he honestly deserved that win.
Another senior captain on the team. Any other relay members of your teams that
I think
have been vital to the success?
Andrew Rutz has been
absolutely.
He's really improved this season. He doesn't swim year round, and he just swims high school. And it's really impressive that he can go like 24 low, 23 high, just based on how he swims in those events. So he's really impressed me this year.
And now you move on to districts in 2 weeks. Districts has been a bit of a challenge the last few years, and not necessarily by any faults of your own, right? Talk a little bit about that, Lukas. This team has come close, but not quite gotten over the hump, and really a lot of it has to do with the fact that you guys don't offer one particular event, correct?
Yeah, so for high school, they call it swimming and diving, so they group them both together, which is unfortunate because our team only has swimming, and whereas Shorewood, who won last year's districts by 4 points over us, they have diving as well, and if diving and swimming were separate, then we would have beat them by at least 50 or 70 points. But this year, we're hoping to definitely get over that hump and try and beat them this year. This year, we were really close in the dual meet. We only lost by 4 points because I think it came down to 3 of our top swimmers being gone, and it was really close, but we beat Shorecrest this year, which was really impressive because I wasn't sure if we were going to beat them, which was another competitor for the district title this year. But yeah, I think it all comes down to the meet and how we perform. So I think we're going to perform really well this year.
Daniel, do you guys actually kind of look at other teams' results as the season moves along and try to kind of project where things might play out? I mean, have you started in your own minds tried to figure out how much of a makeup you might have to make on Shorewood based on the diving team for next week or for 2 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Lukas and I and Anthony as captains, we spend a lot of time discussing with our coach who needs to go where and strategically trying to place people, not necessarily even in their best events, but in events where we need them to score points so that we can win this year. For example, I didn't want to swim 200 IM this season, but it looks like I'm going to have to because we don't have anybody who can place top 4. So, yeah.
And then after districts, all 3 of you are moving on to state. I know 2 of you, Lukas and Yuteng, you've already gotten times to qualify you individually for state. And Lukas, you've already qualified as a relay racer, but not as an individual yet. So you're going to try to do that next week.
Yeah.
And I guess I should ask you about that too. So what do you need to accomplish next? Or I keep saying next week, it's in 2 weeks. What do you ultimately need to do in 2 weeks in Snohomish to get to the state?
I think at Snohomish, I'll have a big advantage of the facility with really good blocks, and Snohomish is saltwater, so it kind of provides a little bit of edge with compared to like a warmer Lynnwood pool or something. Also, I'll be wearing a tech suit, so that'll make me, hopefully go a lot faster. And yeah, I'm hoping to just work on my stroke and try and get above the competition. Trying to get that individual state time that's been so elusive.
So it is a time rather than where you place in terms of.
I think it would be really great if I got a time that would be like a really good way to end the season. But even if I placed top 4, I'd be happy with that. So yeah.
Stay tuned for that. Yuteng, this is a team that got to state last year, but none of you were able to get up onto a podium at top 8 once you got there. How much of a motivator does that play into what you're trying to accomplish this year?
Honestly, it's been a motivating factor ever since like we came out of the King County Aquatic Center after state, and it's not just me. Like I know Daniel and Lukas have all felt that, and we didn't like do as good as we wanted to, and also that we've been looking through it all of this year, and honestly, like it hasn't really slipped my mind every single time I talk about high school swimming.
So when you wake up at 5 in the morning or whatever it may be, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, hey, need to get a podium this year?
Yeah, it's motivation too, for training. Because when I don't want to do a set that our coach gives us or don't want to just be there, like I just think like, what am I doing this for? And I just remember that there's 16 or 20 or something other guys out there that are training just as hard or harder than me.
Daniel, is it something that gets talked about? I mean, obviously Yuteng mentioned it's in the mind and you guys are always thinking about it, but
Right.
as teams go, I mean, do you have conversations during the day about?
We definitely talk about relays and how the relays are going to finish because, like Lukas said, there's a lot of camaraderie in small groups on the relays, and we want to push each other and motivate each other to perform better. Personally, I don't talk about wanting to podium at state because I feel like that's bad mojo, but I feel like every time you just have to go out, do your best, and the work you put in will speak for you. So
Sure. We should point out, too, all 3 of you swimming on the same club team, correct?
Yes.
Want to make sure we give them a shout out. Lukas, which club team is that?
We swim for SRST, so Stingray Swim Team. They have 2 pools that they swim at, Mariner High School and Snohomish Aquatic Center. We all joined recently last year. I joined this year because I didn't join last year because of some other things. But this year, I think it's been really cool. It's kind of sparked my interest in swimming a little bit more because last year I didn't swim on a club team because I had a bad experience with Cascade Swim Club, and I didn't really want to go back to that same experience. But this year, it's really helped. So I'm thankful for that.
Yuteng, do you ever worry about burnout from swimming when you're doing club and high school all at the same time? Or
Yeah, it really is a lot and a huge commitment to do. But since I've been doing it since I was 9, like I've been swimming club since I was 9, so that's what, 7, almost 8 years now. I'm quite used to it, and if I get down, I know my teammates are here, and my parents and my coaches are all there just to support me, and they'll push me back up and get me motivated again.
And is it a way to kind of build camaraderie amongst the team too, Daniel, when you've got the 3 of you, and I'm probably others I would imagine too from EW
Absolutely.
also there? I mean,
yeah, like for instance, Anton Tepluhov, Aiden Eno, we're all in the same club team, and that's really important when we get to the regular season of swimming because we're all used to swimming with each other. And those relays that are at the top that we try to podium with at state, for instance, we're all like really close friends, so it means a lot to be able to swim together at that level. So.
very good. So 2 weeks away, they're at districts. 3 weeks, they're going to be in state. And more importantly, all 3 also part of the IB program at Edmonds-Woodway. So you're not exactly taking the easy road through your academic journey there either. Lukas and Daniel, I'll start with you since you're the 2 seniors here. Any thoughts as to what you might want to do next year or what you might want to study? You got a little time still left, right? Lukas, maybe I'll ask you that first.
I was hoping to either go into something with finance or law, even maybe a combination of both. But we'll see. I think that'd be really interesting to pursue. So.
And is swimming in the future too?
I think in college, if I could potentially swim for D3, that would be really cool. It's D1 is really fast, and I contacted the Seattle U coach, and he basically said that they recruit like the top state qualifiers. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not that fast, but D3 would be like my fit right there.
Daniel, for you, any ideas yet?
So in college, my parents kind of want me to study law, but I'm leaning towards either medicine or business. I'd love to swim in college, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have the opportunity to. So I'll definitely apply to schools that have swimming programs, like, again, Pacific Lutheran. And when I get all my acceptance letters or rejections, we'll see like what my options are.
Okay, then Yuteng, I know you've got a year left, but it sounds like you've already got kind of have your career path marked out to a certain extent.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about doing?
I'm thinking about doing pre-med and hopefully becoming a surgeon one day. And that's actually because my parents have been like talking to me about that. And actually, it's my own decision to do it because I got inspired by my dad, who's also a doctor. And
very good.
And my mom works in the medicine field too.
So would you envision yourself swimming while going down that path, or?
Yes, definitely. That's the goal right now.
Okay, and if he keeps putting up those numbers like he's doing in the fly, I think he's got a pretty good shot. Again, guys, congratulations. A great season thus far. Huge weekend for you, and we hope it's only just beginning, right? We've got Snohomish in 2 weeks, Federal Way in 3 at the state championships, and we hope to see all 3 of these guys down there doing very well. Congratulations.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, not to make waves or anything, but
There we go.
yeah. So the diving thing is really interesting.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show before. I tend to forget about it until the very next year when it comes up again. But yeah, very interesting in the sense that, number one, you think that a lot of divers around here would like that opportunity. But the fact that they don't distinguish and have them as 2 separate categories at a district meet when championships are given out and trophies are held up, yeah, a little bit awkward to me. But hey, I don't make the rules. They don't ask for my opinion.
I know. If we were in charge, the world would be better. That's all we
yeah,
can say.
yeah, right. But certainly it is a shame for Edmonds-Woodway, who, as you heard them mention, I think Yuteng talked about it, they were way ahead in points last year if you take diving out of the equation. So for them to not get to hold up a district championship trophy because they don't have a dive team, and not because they don't have divers willing to do it, but because it's not offered, seems a bit unfair to me, but it is what it is. And more importantly, though, these guys are aiming to get themselves down to Federal Way and ultimately compete for the state championships and to try to get up on a podium this year, which they haven't done yet, in a few more weeks. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and highly recommend that state championship in Federal Way. It's a lot of fun to see all the swimmers competing.
And that's one of the few events on a state level that I've yet to attend. So
Yeah.
who knows? We'll see what my schedule, if it
highly
permits this year. But
recommended, yeah.
I've been told that many times.
Yeah.
It's quite the phenomenal.
Okay, what's next?
We're going to talk a little wrestling. Let's talk about the girls from Edmonds-Woodway first. Kind of a rarity for them. Not only a rarity, it's first ever. They held their first ever all-girls meet over the past week. They lost the meet. It was to a combo team of Kamiak and Mukilteo. So the 2 Mukilteo School District high schools teaming up on them and defeating them as a team overall. But there were a few shining moments. It was senior night for the Warriors. This was a big deal because Charlotte Tonino was one of the seniors, and we've had her on the show. And we should note that for a school that now has, I think, 20-plus girls wrestlers, 3 years ago, she was a pioneer. She was the first one. She was the only girl wrestler at the school at the time. And she won her match on I think it was Tuesday night over there at Edmonds-Woodway. So she goes out with a victory with a pin. And for that, I figured this is kind of, it's the athlete of the week or player of the week. It should be player of the career for her, right?
Yeah.
Because again, not only did she get a victory, but she pioneered her sport, so to speak. So Charlotte, you've definitely earned this over the last few years. So now we're going to add a t-shirt to your collection. Congratulations to you and to your teammates. And we hope to see that program continue to build, as well as others around the area. It's nice to see the girls have an opportunity to get out there and to have their own sport, so to speak, and not have to mesh in with the boys to make that happen. So congratulations to her. And now let's talk a little bit about the boys wrestling teams. And we usually start with the Edmonds-Woodway Warriors. We're going to do it again. They defeated Cedar Crest over the week, 58-17, clinching their 5th consecutive West Coast South title. They also completed the regular season undefeated. Surprise, 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 right? But another team that did fairly well this week, Meadowdale. They had 3 matches, won all 3 of them. They defeated Archbishop Murphy, Mountlake Terrace, and Lynnwood. Meadowdale finishes the regular season with a record of 5 wins and 2 losses, and no doubt a few of those Maverick wrestlers, some of which we've had in studio, I think have a chance to do very well at districts and perhaps on to state. And speaking of wrestling, we'll talk about the other 2 schools as well. Mountlake Terrace and Lynnwood, in what was probably the most dramatic match of the week on any sport. They went into the final match of the night, having had Mountlake Terrace was trailing by 4 points. It's the 145-pound weight class category. The only way Mountlake Terrace can defeat Lynnwood in the team element of the sport is to get a pin. Can't win on points. They need a pin. And Arun Ko, one of the wrestlers for Mountlake Terrace, did just that. Picked up enough points to give Mountlake Terrace a thrilling 40-36 victory. A little bit of the tables being turned there last Friday night, if you'll recall, we gave our Player of the Week award to Jaden Acosta from the Lynnwood basketball team because he defeated Mountlake Terrace on a last-second three-pointer. Arun, in the same gym, defeats Lynnwood now on a last-second pin to win a match for his team. So we're going to give Arun the Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week shirt. So Arun, enjoy that, and congratulations to you and your teammates on ending your regular season on a high note. And best of luck to all of our wrestlers who now move on to the sub-districts. And best of luck to the Lynnwood Royals. They got their first team victory of the week, earlier in the week, and we had two of their captains in the studio to talk about their season and what their prospects are, not only for the future in wrestling, but also we're going to talk a little career in ambition with them as well. And it's a delicious segment, if you will. And here's the interview we did with B-Hawk and Georgino. The regular season of high school wrestling concluded on Friday night of this week. It's now on to the sub-districts and then regionals and then ultimately state. And joining us right now, two of the team captains for the Lynnwood Royals, junior Georgino Moraga and senior B-Hawk, they call him, Brandon Hawk. And B-Hawk, I'm going to start with you. A great week for wrestling at Lynnwood, closely contested matches anyway, your two closest ones of the year. And we're going to start off by talking Tuesday night. Archbishop Murphy, you guys getting the first team victory of the season. And it was on senior night, so you guys were being recognized. Talk about that experience, what it was like, and how thrilling it had to be to go out with a victory there at Lynnwood.
It was pretty crazy to get a victory for the season. It really helps the team, I think, going into postseason for districts. When you get the victory, it's like, dang, we can really come and compete with these kind of teams. So coming into postseason, that'll really help them through the week to be ready for districts and regionals and hopefully state.
And on senior night, they always recognize the seniors too. Was it a little emotional? Was it hard to look around that gym and realize that final time there at Lynnwood as a wrestler?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The team, they got me a little plaque, and they did the We Love B-Hawk. It was crazy. 4 years waiting just for this moment, and I kind of got emotional just to think that it's all gonna be over. But hopefully, coming into postseason, I can bring something to the mat and hopefully finish with a state.
And extend the season a little bit. Yeah. That would be nice. Georgino, talk a little bit about the week. We just mentioned Archbishop Murphy. Close match. You guys pull it out. Tough one on Friday night against Mountlake Terrace. You don't ultimately get the win. They defeat you on the final match of the night as a team. But what was that match like? Just the fact that it was so back and forth and rivalry match at that. What was that experience like for you guys?
It was crazy. Just throughout the whole thing, it was just back and forth. It would be us, our captains, against their the wrestlers, and it'd be crazy because then it'd be their captains against our wrestlers, and just go back and forth and back and forth. And one thing I like is that we never gave up. No matter what the score was, no matter who you were wrestling, we never gave up. One of our sophomores was going against our senior captain, didn't give up throughout the whole thing.
So win or lose, they still fought it all to the very end.
Yes.
And there's something to be said for that, right? I mean, that's what wrestling's more or less about that anyway, isn't it? It's the inner struggle and trying to find yourself when you are down at your lowest moment and trying to pull yourself up and get a victory. Talk a little bit about what kind of characteristics wrestling has built for you and some of your teammates over the years.
So, the characteristics that built me, heart. I have so much heart, and, it's all mentality. You just have to have the mentality that, you have to go out there, you're going to win, and that you're better than the person. And that you have to have heart for it, because not everyone has it.
And that's why not everybody's wrestling, right? It's not an easy sport. Yeah. Speaking of which, numbers have been a little bit low at Lynnwood lately. You guys don't have the large number of wrestlers coming out like in Edmonds-Woodway where there's 4 or 5 wrestlers in each weight classifications. In some weight classes, you don't have anybody wrestling. In terms of when you're at practice and trying to get ready for your next match or get ready for districts or ultimately state, Brandon, how tough has that been for you guys in terms of not maybe having the ideal wrestling partner at your weight to contend with in practice?
It's been pretty tough, especially going into the postseason. Having an adequate wrestling partner really helps you to train for districts. We have a lot of first years, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they're coming in and they're wanting to wrestle, and I appreciate them for wanting to do that and build themselves and make this team great. But it's always hard because going to districts, you're going against some really good people, and you're wrestling first years, which they're gonna try their best, you're gonna try their best, but ultimately the practice isn't gonna be there. But as long as I feel you can get into the room and try your best, then pretty much you're going to ultimately do your best in districts, and really practice partner isn't going to see how well you do. You've been training your whole year, your whole career for this moment. I don't think a wrestling partner at practice is going to ultimately decide how well you do.
Well said. And it's a little different for you in that you're at the heaviest weight classification. Georgino, you're more in the middle there. You're wrestling at what, 152? Is that right? So at practice, you don't have another 152 wrestler. There's times you're wrestling somebody 20 pounds heavier than you. There's times you're wrestling somebody lighter than you. In some ways, can you use that to your benefit? Because I've got to think there's different strategies when you're going against those guys too. Does it work in terms of maybe you're learning different skill sets that maybe you wouldn't learn otherwise? Or am I reaching for that too much there?
No, you're completely right. Like sometimes I'll grab one of our heavier guys to work on my strength, or sometimes I'll grab one of our 45 to 38 to work on my speed, to work on my reaction time. So I learned that through my coach, because he told me, he's like, all right, if you want to work on your strength, grab someone stronger than you. If you want to work on your speed, grab someone who's faster than you. So that's what I try to doing, since there's no one really my weight.
So it's kind of like going to your toolkit and finding which tool you need for that particular time, and having the guys help you out a little bit there. Brandon, you were telling me earlier that there's a lot of first-year wrestlers on this squad too, and so not a lot of experience. You guys tend to end up taking on more of a mentor role in that case too. Do you kind of enjoy that? I mean, it's not like you're an extension of the coaching staff in some ways, right?
Yeah, it's I think it's good for them because they come out, they're ready to wrestle, and as me as a captain, I love to, mentor them, hopefully bring them to a greater standard, coaching them anytime they need it. But pretty much, if a kid needs help, I'm ultimately there to help them. Even if it's going to hinder my practice, I will be there to help them because it's for the good of the team. And if they stick with it and I'm there to help them that one day and ultimately teach them something, then they're going to be better for the rest of the season, hopefully. And then when I'm gone or Georgino's gone, they're there to be that mentor role because I gave them the mentor role.
Sure. Kind of giving forward or paying forward, rather. Georgino, tell me a little bit about B-Hawk over here. What kind of a wrestler is he? What does he do well on the mat? What kind of a teammate is he, for that matter?
B-Hawk's an amazing teammate. He's a great leader. I appreciate him every day. He hasn't missed a single practice this season. He's always there. He's always ready to, put in the work that needs to be put in. Mm-hmm. He has the heart for this. Every time he's, tired or something, he'll pull something out. He always has the heart for it, and I appreciate that.
Now, what about Georgino? What kind of a teammate is he? What kind of a wrestler is he?
Georgino, 3 years, man, coming in your first year, I was like, oh, Georgino. But no, really, he's improved a lot. He's definitely got the mentality of a wrestler. I love seeing him every day at practice, always there to pick me up. I'm always there to pick him up, ready just to grind, always giving it 110%, always picking up other underclassmen, ready just to go to wrestle. When it comes match night, he's out there ready to wrestle. Always the first one there, last one to leave, me and him, always grinding. And, it's been a struggle. I mean, it's been great having him on the team just to finish out the season.
Very good. And as much success as the two of you have had, I know the team necessarily hasn't gotten the wins that they've wanted, but there are other quality wrestlers on this team too that have had strong seasons. Who else have we been able to watch on the Royals this year, and who can we expect to maybe see some big things from in the postseason?
Definitely Isaac Hernandez and Christian Kirkman. They're strong wrestlers, sophomores, but they have a lot of room to learn, and they are still doing great for sophomores. They're learning every day, coming to practice, doing their best, and just hitting the mat time, ready to go.
And for Georgino, for you as a junior, knowing that those other two guys are sophomores, it's got to say something for the future too, and give you guys a little bit of hope for next year as well. Obviously, we want to still focus on this year, but when you start to look ahead and thinking that maybe we can build up the program, kind of a nice little nucleus with the three of you right there, right?
Yeah, of course. I appreciate them. They've been here since freshman year, and they've been working hard ever since then, and they've improved a lot. I'm not going to lie, they have. And Isaac, I'm not going to lie, sometimes he gives me a hard time in the room, and I appreciate that because I don't really have anyone to really give me a hard time around my weight.
It pushes you and motivates you and helps you do better. Regionals coming up this week. What are the expectations? What are the goals for both of you at this point? Brandon, I'll start with you. What ultimately would you like to see? How would you like to see your final year play out in wrestling?
I definitely hope to maybe take first would be amazing, but ultimately it's just hoping to get in the top 4 to try to make it to regionals, districts, all that. And then hopefully state, because it's my last year. I'd really like to go with a bang. And
you've never been to the Mat Classic, right, as a wrestler?
No,
is that correct?
I have not.
So what would that mean for you to get to Tacoma before it's all said and done?
That would just be crazy. It's been a huge goal of mine. especially as a wrestler, since I've known people to go there. Cole, Nate, they were our old captains. They went. Llewell. It was just crazy to see them go and all the recognition they got, and just how big of a event this is for the community, and just like Matt Classic. So many people come out for it.
Absolutely. And then, Georgino, for you, same question. Goals for the year?
Goals for the year, I feel like I have a good chance to take districts this year and hopefully take regionals as well and maybe place at state.
So we will see, again, regionals this coming weekend at Edmonds-Woodway, I believe, and then we'll move on from there. As far as other things going on, Brandon, you're a senior, so I'll ask you first. Any thoughts given to what you're going to do after school? It sounds like you might have some strengths in the kitchen that I didn't realize until you got here today.
Yeah, definitely hoping to maybe go to culinary school or evolve my cooking skills, maybe open a restaurant or something. It's been a huge passion of mine. My aunt has always pushed me to be great in the kitchen. She's the one who really got me in there, helped me cook, and proved my passion for the culinary arts. And just, it's been a huge passion of mine.
And what exactly do you like to do in terms of in the kitchen? Are you baking? Are you making dinner? Are you keeping it simple? What are some of your strengths?
Definitely like simple meals, breakfast, lunch. Those are always great meals. Dinner's more of a like full thing you got to do. But breakfast, you can just go in there, crack a few eggs, make an omelet or two. But it's really ultimate about your skill, what you're trying to improve, and it's really all about having fun. It's not about like, oh, I messed this up, I got to retry. It's just about having fun. You break a few eggs before you make an omelet. So.
Have you cooked for the wrestling team yet?
Not really. I mean, George has had a couple of my meals, some brownies. I've made him some pasta, some oatmeal and all that. But it's simple stuff.
I asked you to talk about him as a wrestler earlier. I should have asked you to talk about him as a chef or a cook. What kind of grade are you giving him at this point?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to give him a A+.
Okay,
Yeah.
good food.
Yes, amazing food.
Very nice. And now, what about you? You're doing running start already. What kind of ambitions do you have for the future?
Yeah, some things I want to get into are like criminology and forensics. Since I want to get into that, I've always had a passion for like going into like criminology and stuff like that, because I want to become more. I want to do something and like become like an FBI agent, which I've always been wanting to be since I was very little.
Is it watching hours of CSI or anything like that, or just what's the influence there?
I guess some of my family friends, because one time I met my mom's friend and she was an FBI agent, and she like really influenced me because I'm like wow, look at that.
Good to have mentors then, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. But so a lot going on with them into their futures. Should also mention, Brandon, you're involved with leadership in yearbook, so keeping busy, and we're hoping you're going to keep real busy for the next few weeks as the wrestling season wraps up. And best of luck to both of you guys. Would love to see you down in the Tacoma Dome in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. But until then, good luck at districts this week, and we'll see where you guys can take this wrestling thing before you get a chance to start your careers embarking upon chasing down criminals and creating wonderful things in the kitchen. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fascinating to me to hear the students talk about the things they do outside of sports and what their career aspirations are. I mean, who knew? Cooking, FBI. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, it's always exciting to kind of get that perspective from
Yeah.
them. It's not just about sports, which it shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
You are a student first and an athlete second,
Right.
hence the term student
Yeah.
athlete. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. And just a quick clarification, we were talking about this in between segments. We had talked about that girls' dual meet and mentioned that it was Kamiak and Mukilteo, but actually it was Kamiak and Mariner in the Mukilteo
From the Mukilteo School District,
So
correct.
just so you know, we do sometimes catch that we
The M's kind of,
mislabel.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now we've got more sports to talk about, I'm sure.
We have basketball to talk
Yes.
about. We haven't mentioned that yet. A rare doubleheader over at Lynnwood High School on Friday night. And unfortunately for the home team, they picked up 2 losses as Edmonds-Woodway came in and defeated the Royals both on the boys and the girls fronts. In the boys game, which took place at the 5:40, that was the opening night game, if you will. The boys ended a 2-game losing streak by overcoming a 7-point deficit in the first quarter, as Chinadu Achulanu scored 15 points and Edmonds-Woodway was able to defeat Lynnwood 53-45. The girls' game was played about 20 minutes after that one concluded, and in that game, the Warriors girls defeated Lynnwood 60-50. Adrian Poling scoring 20 points in that game, and Rebecca DeSala Good had 18 points, and we just like to throw that one in because it's a fun name to say. So nice job, DeSala Good. Good job in the win there. And then I didn't see the girls' game because I went to the boys' game and decided to take off early because I wanted to see another Lynnwood versus Edmonds-Woodway matchup, also on a basketball court. However, it was down at the Alaska Airlines Arena over at the University of Washington. Big girls matchup that night as Michaela Pivick, one of our legends of the Edmonds School District, former Lynnwood basketball star who won a state championship for Lynnwood. She is now a starter for Oregon State University, who is ranked ninth in the nation. She was taking on the University of Washington, who happens to have a starter from Edmonds-Woodway, Missy Peterson, who had a very distinguished career for the Warriors. Unfortunately for Missy, didn't go really well for her and her teammates as Oregon State defeated them by 47 points. In the game, Michaela scored 12 points and had 19 rebounds. So the nation is starting to learn about her, a player that we already knew about up in this neck of the woods. We've had a chance to watch her for many years. But nonetheless, it was great to see two of our local athletes both starting on a basketball court for a Pac-12 school. And it was an exciting night nonetheless, even though the game wasn't as close as we would have liked. So Lynnwood and Edmonds-Woodway, a lot of basketball to talk about between the two schools on Friday night. So interestingly enough, that's how that played out. And as far as looking at key matchups coming up this week, as we start to get near the end of the regular season with only 3 games to go, Meadowdale will be hosting Lynnwood on Friday night, or Wednesday night rather, and Mountlake Terrace on Friday night. So plenty of opportunities to see Edmonds School District basketball over at the Stable this week for Meadowdale. And the Edmonds-Woodway boys will be hosting Shorecrest and Shorewood on Tuesday and Thursday night. So they've got the Shoreline School District tour coming their way. And then on the girls' front, Edmonds-Woodway is going to be at Shorecrest on Tuesday. I don't normally promote and suggest the games that are outside of the school district, but Shorecrest is a short drive.
Yeah.
And that's a game between 2 of the top 5 teams in the Wesco 2A, 3A conference, and it could be a really good matchup. So I encourage folks to get over there. And then also on Tuesday night, Meadowdale will be at Lynnwood in what could be a very good matchup and a game that might determine playoff seedings as well. So stay tuned for that, and we will certainly be talking about a lot of basketball come the next week or two as we start to get into district play.
Yeah, and speaking of the Husky Beaver matchup, I had seen some of the conversations you were having with folks on Twitter about that after you went to the game. And I think somebody had mentioned the fact that Michaela had with the 19 rebounds, and she's what, 5'10"?
Yeah, Elise
So-
Woodward pointed that out from
Yeah.
the Pac-12 Network.
Yeah, to do that when you're that height is amazing.
And Michaela just never ceases to amaze anyway.
No,
she's
true.
she's a phenomenal athlete, and yeah, I mean, you don't put anything past her at this point. And it was just really neat to watch after the game as the Pac-12 Network was kind of converging upon her to do interviews, and then she was sitting at the table, the scores table after the game, doing an interview with Ron Callan, who is the play-by-play announcer for Oregon State, and to see where she's going right now, and to see the kind of season she's having. Again, they're ranked in the top 10 in the nation. She's second in the team in scoring. She's first in rebounds. I think she's second in assists, first in steals. I mean, first in minutes played. She's near the top 2 in just about every statistical category for the Beavers this year, and she's only a junior. She's
Right.
going to get better. So it's been fascinating and fun to kind of see where her journey's taken her, and Missy for that matter too. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime
Very
you can
talented as well.
Yeah, very talented. She's a young player already in the starting lineup for a Pac-12 school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty special to see 2 athletes from our district doing as well as they are.
Yeah, and we've had both of them here.
We
in
absolutely
the studio,
have, yeah.
right?
Multiple
and,
times, yeah.
And I remember with both of them were just very articulate
Mm-hmm.
young ladies. But I remember my biggest impression of Michaela the first time she came in, which was probably three years ago or so.
Yeah, right when we started the show. just
And
about.
I remember chatting with her because you were interviewing some other athletes before it was her turn, and she turned the tables and was asking me a question. And she was like 16 or 15 at the time, and she was like interviewing me. And I was just so taken aback by her poise, even at that age.
And she just continues to progress. I
Yeah.
mean, anytime you hear her in an interview now, she's wise beyond her years
Yeah.
and just so humble through the whole thing too.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
She is incredible. So, well, thanks for that update. So we've got the recommendations on games to watch this week, and is that all for now?
That's all for now. Again, it's regular seasons are coming to an end.
We're
One
talking
more.
baseball before you know it, people.
Well, it's January, and on my way here today, I drove by a softball field. There was already a team out practicing,
Yeah.
so
Well, it doesn't hurt that the weather's relatively decent for that, too.
it's not raining anyway. It's still pretty
Right.
cold out, but
Yeah. Well, we hope you have a great week. Go out and catch some sporting events if you can, and we will see you next week, everyone.
Take care.